Welcome to Social Elo Ministries, where we are committed to glorifying God while exposing the devil. If you are in a relationship and you are about to get married, it doesn't matter if that wedding is going to be in 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, or even 5 months. If you have doubts about that individual, it may be best to break the person's heart, to disappoint your family and friends by postponing or even canceling that wedding, despite all the time and money you've invested, if you do not have a godly peace about it. If you have doubts, especially serious doubts, it may be best, in a sense, to cut your losses, take some time to truly think about things and seek the Lord to get His opinion. Sometimes you have doubts because, yes, it's natural to get scared about certain things. But sometimes you have doubt because the Lord puts it there. He may not tell you directly, do not marry the person, but He will give you doubts because He wants you to question yourself to see, is this what I truly want? And sometimes you know it's not what you want, and you're doing it for the wrong reasons. If you're worried about all the time that you've spent, all the money you've invested, even an expedited divorce or annulment is going to cost you time and money. And in some cases, it's going to cost you heartache. Because if it goes that far, you know that you went too far and you didn't stop something from happening. And then you have to pay the price, in a sense, on the back end. A lot of times, before we make mistakes, the Lord will give us warnings, and we have to be sensitive to what the Holy Spirit is telling us, so that we do not make those mistakes. In some cases, the Lord may be more clear with His warnings. For some of you, this is that warning for you to truly think about what you are considering doing, or in a sense, what you may even be getting pressured to do. And I'll give an example in 1 Samuel 8. I'll read verses 4 through 20, but the gist of it is Samuel was getting old. And as a result, the people thought that it would be best for them to have a king. But the Lord gave them a warning as far as what they would be getting themselves into if they were to get a king. In some cases, the Lord will give you a warning as far as what you're getting into with that person. In some cases, you know the person has a serious character flaw, and you may be thinking that by getting married, it will cause a person to become more committed and to change his or her ways. But more likely, or most likely, what's going to happen is that person with the character flaws that maybe truly rub you the wrong way, marriage is not going to cause a person to change. It's going to cause you to get stuck in a bad situation. In 1 Samuel 8, verses 4 through 20, then all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together and came to Samuel at Ramah, and said unto him, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in the ways now. Make us a king to judge us like all the nations. And two things from that. In some cases, you're getting older, and it may cause a little bit of pressure for you to want to get married. That is not a good reason to get married. Even if you're 99 years old and you've never been married, please take your time. Also, another thing he talks about wanting a king so they can be like other nations. If your desire to get married is because you want to be like other people, that is not a good reason to get married. Every marriage has issues. In marriages that the Lord ordains, He customizes those two people to be together. So whatever issues they will face throughout their life, the Lord, in a sense, has prepared them to go through those issues together. If you end up with someone you're not meant to be with, then the issues you will face are, in a sense, issues the Lord did not prepare the both of you to face together. And it continues. But the thing displeased Samuel when they said, Give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed unto the Lord. He prayed unto the Lord, which is a very important step, to pray unto the Lord if you have doubts about the person you are thinking about marrying. Again, it doesn't matter whether it's in 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, or 5 months. If the Lord tells you to stop at any point in time, you could be about to open the doors to walk down the aisle, stop. Follow the Lord's commands. And the Lord said unto Samuel, Hearken unto the voice of the people, in all they say unto thee. For they have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. That is also a very important point where you have to be careful that your desire to get married is not so that you can have an idol that will interfere with your relationship with the Lord. When the Lord ordains a relationship, both of your relationships or your relationship with each other will draw you closer to the Lord. It won't become an impediment as far as each individual's relationship, and especially your relationship with the Lord. So again, be careful about wanting to get married as a way of having an idol, a person who will get between you and the Lord. A godly relationship will draw both of you closer to the Lord. According to all the works which they have done since the day I have brought them out of Egypt, even unto this day, wherewith they have forsaken me, and have served other gods, so do they also unto thee. The Lord is telling Samuel that the people had been unfaithful to him, despite everything that he had done for them. So again, be careful about essentially erecting someone as an idol in your life, especially after everything the Lord has done for you. Now therefore, hearken unto their voice, howbeit yet protest solemnly unto them, and show them the manner of the king that shall reign over them. So the Lord told Samuel, listen to their voice, but give that dissenting vote. If you're about to get married, be very careful and listen to people who may be telling you not to get married. In some cases, they won't be the loudest voices, but it may be the most logical voice. Some of you may have not heard anything negative about you getting married, and you listen to this, maybe the first time someone is saying something to you that may be raising a red flag. If this message is coming across as such, please take heed. And Samuel told all the word of the Lord unto the people that asked him of a king. And he said, This will be the manner of the king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them for himself, and his chariots, and for his chariots, and to be his horsemen. And some shall run before his chariots. So Samuel's already telling the people, you want a king? The king is going to start taking things from you. And especially with sons, especially in those days, sons were very precious. So that king was going to take precious things from them. The same thing goes. If you marry the wrong person, that person is going to start taking precious things from you. You may end up losing friends, get ostracized from your family, and also your relationship with the Lord will suffer. And he will appoint him captains over thousands and captain over fifties, and will set them to ear his ground, and will reap his harvest, and will make his instruments of war, and his instruments of his chariots. And he will take your daughters. Wow, I'm going to take something else precious, daughters, to be confectionaries, and to be cooks, and to be bakers. This brings up a sad point, and especially for women. Sometimes you get involved with men, and those men are evil. And if you have children, and I'll say especially a daughter, that man will try to get into your life as a way to get to your daughter. And in some cases, women have heard their daughters complain about the things that their husbands are doing to them, but they do nothing because they are so desperate to have a husband that, in a sense, they sell their daughters. And he will take your fields and your vineyards and your olive yards, and even the best of them, and give them to his servants. And he will take the tenth of your seed and of your vineyards, and give to his officers and to his servants. And he will take your men servants and your maid servants and your goodliest young men, and your asses, donkeys, and put them to his work. He will take the tenth of your sheep, and ye will be his servants. In some cases, you end up marrying someone, that ungodly person, or even a godly person that the Lord did not send, and you end up being that person's servant. And in a sense, a big one here. And ye shall cry out in that day of your king, which ye have chosen, and the Lord will not hear you in that day. So the Lord will warn you about that person you're getting married to. And if you're not careful, when you start feeling the repercussions of ignoring the Lord, you will cry out to him, and he may not hear you. However, the Lord is gracious, so he will listen to you, but it may take some time for him to sometimes undo what you have done by ignoring his warnings. But if you get yourself into a situation, he's not obligated to get you out of it, and especially quickly. Especially if you're like the Israelites, who the Lord clearly warned, do not seek a king, because if you do, this is what's going to happen. So, and I'll read verse 18 again. And ye shall cry out in that day because of your king, which ye shall have chosen, and the Lord will not hear you in that day. It was their choice. Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel, who was actually speaking on behalf of the Lord. And they said, Nay, but we will have a king over us, that we also may be like all the nations, and that our king may judge us, and go out before us and fight our battles. So they wanted an earthly king to fight their battles when they had the Lord, the King of Kings, who was fighting their battles, but they wanted to substitute him for someone carnal. The Lord warned the Israelites, and when you go through the books of Chronicles and Kings, you will just see that many of those kings that the people end up asking for led the Israelites away from the Lord and to serve other gods. So again, it is very important, if you have doubts, especially serious doubts about someone you're marrying, whether that wedding is in 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, or 5 months. If the Lord gives you clear indication or even serious doubts that it may not be the best situation for you, take your time. Seek the Lord through prayer to find out if it is truly his will. When something is God's will, he will give you godly peace about it. And I'm talking about godly peace before, not after. Because in some cases, if you think that marrying someone is going to cause that person to change, is going to cause a person to become more committed, it's only going to end up getting you stuck. And your refusal to make a hard decision now because of time and money that you've invested, or you don't want to let people down, may end up causing pain later if you end up getting divorced or filing for an annulment. So again, pay attention to what the Holy Spirit of the Lord is telling you, especially when it comes to marriages. If you end up marrying a godly person or an ungodly individual that the Lord did not ordain for you, that person is going to end up pulling you away from the Lord one way or another. God bless you.